our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth in the flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the SLEIGH podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And I'm your resident on a downward spiral enthusiast, Mike.
And last but not least, it's Colton.
And we are back for another one, just not any other one, the last one of the year. 2022 is a wrap. We're almost hitting the year of Colton, which...
year of Colton? What?
Yeah, when did you... it was almost a year. Like next month, it'll be like the year that you came on the podcast, like full time.
Dude, you guys put me on the podcast full time in like September. I just never took over like the artwork and stuff. I've already been here for a year. I've felt every month of it.
I meant like when we officially started the slave labor part of it. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was a little bit later. It took a couple of months. You guys treated me well, and then you whipped me in shape, I guess.
Yeah. Real Jim Jones style, made you feel good, and then just made sure you drank that Kool-Aid. But so we're here getting ready. You guys will be listening to this on Christmas. This comes out like...
No, you won't. You'll be doing
you'll be doing Christmas things. Please let us know if instead of spending time with your loved ones that you're like, no, I'm just going to sit in my room and listen to these three guys talk.
Or maybe we are your loved ones, hair flip.
Maybe.
I'm just so proud that we've had like a year to really choose a good Christmas movie, a good Christmas horror pick. And Mike picks Magic, which I guess it is a magical time of year, but not the most the best choice for a Christmas movie, I don't think.
Okay, I will 100% give you that, but I feel like when we were scheduling out the picks, that Ro did not make me aware that this was my Christmas pick. And then after I picked it and he scheduled it, he went, well, like, oh, that was some shitty Christmas movie. And I was like, well, I didn't know. And I offered to change it, and he just did not respond to me. So this is what we're stuck with now.
We're going to have to roll it back, maybe release the DM, see what the
yeah, that's right. Here. Well, plus we couldn't let Mike change his pick, because then how would we spend this time just hassling him and making fun of him? It would totally ruin the whole bit. So
it's fine. Roast me alive. Doesn't matter.
So, fellas, let's get into what media we've been consuming. What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What have you been listening to? You been getting your Christmas decorations up or what? We'll start with you, Mike.
Okay, so my Christmas decorations are done, i.e. there isn't any.
Nailed it.
Every year. Okay, so my mom bought me this little small Christmas tree when I lived in my last apartment because it was too small. I had no room to put a Christmas tree up. I still don't really have a lot of room in this one, but like, if I wanted to, I could move a few things around and easily have a corner with a Christmas tree in it, but I fucking hate Christmas, so I don't do that. Anyway, so every year, and she gives me ornaments to put on it, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, every year, this Christmas tree just sits wrapped in a plastic bag, shoved in the back of my closet, and she's like, for weeks leading up to Christmas, every time she sees me, she's like, do you have your Christmas tree up yet? And I'm like, no. And I think she just stops like 3 days before Christmas because she knows I don't have it up and she doesn't want to embarrass me. So, yeah. I'm like, listen, I might do my Black Christmas, buy a wreath and hang little alcohol bottles on it, a la Black Christmas.
I love it.
And Margot Kidder. A throwback to my old university days. Anyway, so now that I've finished not decorating for Christmas, I guess I can get into what I've been consuming, which I'll blow through quickly. I've been reading this. Well, I don't know if reading is a good word for it. More like perusing, absorbing this Taschen book, which is like a really cool art publisher for those who don't work in books. And they did this series called The Library of Esoterica, and it's like little encyclopedias, and by little I mean big and beautiful, of like different aspects of like the occult. So I'm reading the astrology one now, and there's like a tarot one and witchcraft, and there's text in it that kind of like just talks about different ideas of all of these things, but it's mostly just art books. It's mostly like a visual archive of like art throughout the ages of from different mediums of like aspects of astrology or like different tarot cards and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I've been like obsessed with that. I finally finished my watch through of Real Housewives of Potomac, so I'm caught up. I started watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and of course I did. And before you give me shit, I'm about to blow both of y'all's minds. In the last week, I started and finished season 2 of White Lotus. So yes,
nice.
I finished the second last episode of White Lotus about 2 hours before the season finale came on a week ago.
So do I need to watch it? I haven't seen season 1 of White Lotus, and I think they're like separate stories, right?
I haven't either.
Is it something I have to watch? So
I've
think?
been told
worth watching?
It's worth watching. I've been told that you absolutely don't need to watch season 1, and I thought it was wonderful.
Okay.
And it's like totally self-contained. Like there are 2 characters that carry over, but it's really like you don't need to know their backstory necessarily. But the season finale was one of the funnest episodes of TV I've seen in a long time. I'll put it that way.
What sort of show is it, Mike? Like, is it like a murder mystery show, or like I have no clue what it's about?
It starts off because the White Lotus is like the hotel, like luxury hotel chain, and I think the point is that every episode is at a different location. Or every season, sorry. But it starts off where they discover a dead body, and then it goes back like a week, and you don't know who it is. So you just know that at the end of this week, somebody ends up dead, and you don't know who, why, how, anything like that.
All right.
And it's really just like this slow burn like drama of like relationships and stuff, but it's also really funny. And then you kind of like it grows more uneasy every episode because you're really like reading into trying to figure out like one of these people's gonna be dead, who is it? And you're like really kind of like over scrutinizing everyone's relationships, and they really like play with that and like toy with it. So I think you'd like it. It's a good, it's not the greatest thing you'll ever see, but like I don't know, it's a good like kind of cult hit, I think.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about season 2, but you know, as I probably mentioned on the podcast before, I usually suck at watching TV, so I'll watch 2 or 3 episodes of things and they just bounce off.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe over the holiday break, I'll check it out.
You should, and it's only like 7 episodes, I think, or 6. It's really not very many. Like I think that if you could probably watch it even in like if you had a day where you were doing nothing or hungover, like you could probably bang that out in like one night. Yeah, so that's really all I have. What about you, Colton?
Well, I have a load of things because I was supposed to be on our 30 Days of Night episode, but I found out like literally 2 or 3 hours before that I'd have to work the next morning. So I was like, this is literally my only evening off. I don't know if I want to spend it talking about a movie that I didn't think was even that great. You know, no shade the Chris on Amon, you know, obviously I would have liked to be on the show with him again, but it was just kind of, I was like, I kind of want to meet up with some friends and whatnot that I haven't seen in a couple of weeks. But yeah, so I saw 30 Days a Night. I thought it was okay. Definitely didn't blow my socks off. I think it's a squandered kind of premise, or like what they could have done with vampires in the Arctic, or vampires in the places of the world that have 30 Days of Night or more. So yeah, I was not a huge fan of that. I also checked out Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which it's definitely weird. It's very Del Toro, obviously taking like a fairy tale and adding his twist on it. It was kind of funny to see like the points of the movie that kind of intersected with the Disney adaptation, because it is very different. Like it's almost similar to Pan's Labyrinth in a way, where it's like this magical story set in like a war-torn country or war-torn time. Like, so as I was watching it, I was like, there was a point in the movie where I was like, is Pinocchio gonna kill Mussolini? Like, you know, it's that type of movie where I'm like, are we going there? You know, it's just so strange, right?
Now I have to see it.
Yeah, it's very bizarre, and like the blue fairy is like this, almost like this alien being with eyes all over it and stuff. Like it's really strange. So overall, I thought it was pretty good. Where the movie was heading, I think there was probably a stronger ending they could have done. So I was a little bit disappointed by where it wound up. But all in all, it's good. It's Del Toro, so it's fun to watch regardless. I also checked out Christmas Bloody Christmas, which we recorded a Now Slaying on that. So if you want to hear my full thoughts on that, you can just listen to that. But I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it has lots of good gore, and I like the robot Santa stuff. And the chemistry between the two leads was just amazing. Very good chemistry between the two leads. So I would recommend it for sure. And I can't leave this section without talking about James Cameron. He's back with Avatar: The Way of Water.
I don't know about that. He hasn't convinced me yet.
Mike's shaking his head. Rowan's throwing shade.
Listen, I haven't seen Avatar.
Rowan, have you seen Avatar? It doesn't strike me as a movie you'd watch either.
No,
yeah,
I was determined. I was like, you know what? I might watch it. Might go see the new one. And then I had it open, and I was like, nah, I'm good. And then I watched something else.
Yeah, I just had a feeling I was here with a couple of haters, so... The Way of Water, if you hate the first one, it's not going to change your mind. I would say most of the plot beats are basically copy and pasted directly from the first one, but this one kind of takes a little while to get started. It's basically once you get to the place in the plot where you start to learn the way of water, living near the ocean, that way of life, kind of like that magic of Pandora Returns, and you see all the fun fish and sea life and all the flora around. It kind of recaptures the magic of the original. Obviously, it has some of the best visual effects, I think, ever on film. This is a 3-hour and 15-minute movie, and every single shot is a visual effects shot. Look at Mike just throw it up that 3 hours, 15 minutes.
I'm at the point where I'm 2 hours, I can't do it.
I could have told you this.
You sat in a theater for close to 4 hours, essentially, is what you're saying.
All of us, yeah.
With all the, previews and having to get there early.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely close around probably 4 hours. No pee break, just sat there, with IMAX 3D glasses on.
God love you. God love you. You're a trooper.
But yeah, the visual effects, they're absolutely amazing. Obviously, Top Gun Maverick earlier this year had a lot of practical effects and was very impressive for that. This is the complete opposite of that. It's obviously all made up and all, all in the computer. And, dude, we're kind of there on some of the shots. They are lifelike, despite seeing weird-ass alien shit. There's also an hour of the movie just devoted to, critiquing whaling and, saving whales, which is a very, it's just, kind of a lovely little part of the movie. I was like, all right, this is cool. It's, Free Willy in here for a second. So,
oh my God.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of a magical experience. It's one of those movies that's very earnest, wears its heart on its sleeve. And the last hour is just a roller coaster ride of increasingly impressive action sequences where, Cameron kind of pays homage to a lot of other of, his movies and filmography. So I don't know. I really liked it. It's not amazing. I don't even know if it'll make my top 10 of the year, but it was it was worth seeing. I thought it was a very good theater experience. And
yeah, it seems like something that if you're gonna go out, that's something you should
see it
go
on the
out
big
and see.
screen. Yeah, see it in 3D. From what I've heard, do not see it in high frame rate. See it in just IMAX 3D, because apparently if you see the high frame rate version, it's constantly shifting back and forth between 24 frames a second to 48, and apparently it's really distracting. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was good. Everyone I went to see it with thought it was good. And yeah, I guess there's going to be another probably 3 or 4 of these movies. So just get used to these blue people, cat people running around, because I think they're going to be around for a little while.
That's so funny.
I'm gonna jump on when the third one comes out, Avatar Maverick. I'll go see that one.
Okay, where it's all practical effects. We've actually figured out how to create these blue cat people,
Well, at that point, we will have all evolved into them, or mutated, I guess.
I figure by the third one they'll get Tom Cruise signed up and he'll just be like, no, just paint me blue. We're just going practical.
No, he's just gonna get Xenu to change us all to
oh, I like
people.
that. Yeah, bringing in Scientology. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
right.
Yeah, I've watched a load of other things, but The Menu was very good. Anyways, I don't want to talk anymore. Let's just
hang on. There was one that I was gonna. I saw on your letterbox and I was like, oh my god, I'm impressed. And I knew, I was like, I'm going to go into this and it's going to say Grace's pick, and it did.
Yeah, my best friend's wedding is what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. I was like, nice. And you didn't hate on it, so that was
No, I have a weekly movie night with a good friend of mine, Grace, that we've been doing for over 200 weeks now. So it's just, she chose my best friend's wedding. I've never seen it. It was a perfectly pleasant, Julia Roberts. Yeah. Julia Roberts, right? I almost said Julia Rogers.
Yeah. Julia Rogers.
Julia Roberts movie. And I mean, there's not too much else to say about it. It was just one of those pleasant rom-coms from back in the day that they don't really make anymore. All rom-coms nowadays are kind of raunchy and whatnot. This was just kind of, I don't know, it's big,
inoffensive,
and fun.
Yeah. My friend years ago used to force me to watch that every time we got together, and I grew to kind of like be very fond of it. I was like, this is, it's a nice movie. It's,
for me,
it's like kind of trashy, but
yeah, it's not like a When Harry Met Sally, which to me I think is like absolute excellence, and I love
Classic,
500 Days of Summer as kind of a way of a more modern interpretation of the rom-com, but it was really good. It was pleasant. Like, it wasn't a terrible pick or anything.
Yeah. Anyway, I was impressed that you were not
watched
like,
that.
I was like, oh my god, I'm going to
review.
open this up and it's going to have like a 5-star review on it.
Yeah. No, it was perfectly fine. Well, actually, better than fine. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you, Rowan? What have you been watching? What have you been consuming? Are your Christmas decorations up? Mine aren't either, by the way. Not yet, at least.
My Christmas decorations are up.
Nice.
We started the other. I say they're up. I mean, it's really just like a tree, and that's about it. But we got them up because I said, it's getting that time for us to, start watching some Christmas stuff, doing all that, fun times. So I watched Claymation Christmas Celebration, which gets shown every year at my house. I think his name's Will Vernon is the claymation artist that does it. It's from like 87, I think, or something. Probably the highlight of it is it has the California raisins in it.
Oh my god.
But just one I've watched like ever since I was a kid. I had it on VHS. Really great claymation work, and just I'm not like big on like Christmas carols and stuff like that, but this is like they do weird interpretations, so it'll be like a jazz interpretation and an R&B interpretation and just some different stuff. So for Christmas watching, we watched that. Watched, some Christmas episodes, shows that we love around here. So watched some of the Christmas Office episodes, the Christmas Mad Men episodes.
Oh my god, my favorite, when they all get drunk on peppermint schnapps or whatever, and Buddy gets his foot run over with the mower. Ugh, classic. One of the highlights of Mad Men.
Yeah, that was kind of, and then like the other night I watched The Night Before, which is, another one that we watch ever since it came out.
I was shocked by that. You gave that 5 stars. I was like, what? A masterpiece? The Night Before?
Well, I said in my review that to me it's a 4-star movie, but it's a 10-star Michael Shannon performance. So he just elevates it.
A 4-star movie for you is still as good as Jaws.
I was gonna say it's no Jaws apparently.
Michael Shannon's so good in that movie. Like I mean, it also might have been like when did we watch that? The other night. I was definitely on edibles though, and I was like crying, laughing. Michael Shannon gets me every year, even though I've seen this movie multiple times. It's just an all-star Michael Shannon performance. What I do have to briefly mention. Not that anyone's gonna watch it, but it definitely made me laugh, was a movie called Inside Game. It's definitely like a Lifetime movie or something. It stars Scott Wolf and Will Sasso. I know you guys will just kind of like eyes glaze, but it's about Tim Donaghy, who was like a ref in the NBA that got caught like fixing games, and he was like tied to the mob, and this was like in the 2000s. The movie's terrible, but Will Sasso plays this like cocaine addicted, like just habitual gambler, and he's off the chain. He is just
So he just like plays himself, or
pretty much. It's just like it's him in like a manic drug rage for 2 hours, just like waving a gun around the air, yelling at women, and it's wild. It's wild.
he just showed up on set and they just filmed him?
Yeah, they were like, "Can you just do what you do?" Honestly, guys, most of my stuff was like rewatched. I got my aviators on, rewatched Top Gun Maverick in 4K. It's just as good as the theater.
Of course.
Yeah, rewatched Tropic Thunder, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Just kind of some of the hits that I saw that Exilia missed. I did want to give a shout out. I watched Emily the Criminal, which was insanely good.
Yeah, I thought that was really good too. I saw that at Sundance.
Oh,
earlier in the
okay.
year.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I had no idea like anything about it. It was like 5 a.m. and I was just like, oh, I'm just going to put something on. And I saw it was like it was like number 1 at the time in like the Netflix listing. And I was like, sure.
Okay.
And yeah, fantastic. I was very upset. I went to buy it this week and found out that the Blu-ray was American only. Canada only got a DVD release of it. So, Aubrey, you gotta hook your boy up. In kind of the horror realm, I watched The Rental. I hadn't seen it before. Also really enjoyed that. I mean, I'm a sucker for anything Alison Brie, so...
of course.
Yeah.
Speaking of
I think
Mad
the
Men,
poster for it is a little bit better than the actual movie. Like, it has a really cool poster. You like the movie a little bit more than me. But
Yeah,
I thought it was good.
I think
you thought
so.
It was great.
I think so.
On the same level as Jaws, apparently. So
Yeah, Jaws is just whatever, guys. It's whatever. I did a rewatch, RoboCop 1, 2, and 3, which was great because I've seen obviously I've seen 1 tons of times. 3 actually was probably my most watched as a kid, but I think it was just because a friend of mine had it on VHS, and that was the only one he owned. 1 and 2 still hold up pretty good. 3 is really bad. It's like should be an example of what you shouldn't do with a rated R series, where they just were like, we're taking this super rated R movie series and turning it into a PG movie for kids, because by that time like RoboCop toys and comics and everything were popping off. And it's just like there's no social commentary. Like the bite is just totally taken out of RoboCop. Peter Weller isn't RoboCop in this. It's very noticeable. It's like a different physique, a different voice, and I don't know who the guy that plays him is, but he's terrible. It's just really bad. And yeah, nothing really other than I finally saw Amsterdam. That came up on Disney Plus. Kind of glad because I was gonna pick it up on 4K just at Walmart the other week.
I think you made the right choice there. I haven't seen it, but I've heard literally nothing good about that movie.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking like I love David O. Russell. Like American Hustle is like one of my favorite movies from 2000 on. It'd probably be in my top 20 at least. I've seen American Hustle so many times.
You need to let it go.
Google David O.
Things
Russell
that he
before you
did.
say on a podcast that you love him.
I was like, I'm just here shaking my head.
Well,
like
I mean the movie.
Yeah, you just gotta.
I love
you gotta
men
let
that
it go.
molest his
You
preteen.
gotta
Well,
let it
I
go.
mean David O. Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he can be a piece of shit.
We're not supporting him.
No.
American
Not
Hustle
supporting
gets
him.
my love. I love the whole cast of that movie, and like I said, it's a fantastic movie. This is a mess. This is
Too bad somebody else didn't make it.
Yeah. This is just weird. It narratively makes no sense. There's a lot of cuts and stuff. Just plot points that you have no idea what's going on because they didn't actually explain anything properly of the story.
Is this the movie where Taylor Swift gets hit by a car?
Yes, it is.
Nice. All right. I mean, well, I don't know why that would be in the movie, but all right, maybe I'll watch it just for that. Not hating on Taylor Swift, it's just weird that that's in the movie.
The cast
you
is
listen.
fantastic.
You don't want to get the Swifties on your.
No. I'm not.
radar.
No shade to the Swifties. Listen to what you listen to. I listen to fucking like 2006 metalcore all the time, right? So like, just it's fine.
Yeah. No, like I said, I mean, it's a fantastic cast. Another great Michael Shannon performance. in this. He just,
you have such a hard on for Michael Sheen.
I mean, who doesn't? Everyone should. But plus it's been, I rewatched Man of Steel because I was having a somber. So I was getting my Michael Shannon in. I was having a somber moment now that Henry Cavill's gone. He is no more Superman. It makes me sad. I'm going to end on that sad note.
No, you're not going to end there because you also spoiled an upcoming Now Slaying, and I'm not letting you off the hook with it. You watched Skinamarink, which I'm rotted that you watched it because I messaged you ahead of time. I was like, this is a great one. It's coming up. It's getting a theatrical release. Let's choose it.
It's not coming.
And you're like, fuck that. I'm just going to watch it myself. I'm going to watch the version with the Russian slots playing over it the entire time.
Me watching Scream.
I had the high def 4K version. It's already up on all the pirating sites.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's so okay. We'll still do it. I'm not even gonna say what I thought of it, but it's crazy. It's wild.
I'm just gonna get like Mike or Jill or some other guest to do it with me.
Yeah.
And leave you out in the cold, I think.
All right,
I'll do it.
Right.
I don't even know what it is, but I know everyone's talking about it and loving it, so I'll do it.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how it does. I don't think it's gonna have the legs people hope it has, but some movies are just too good and weird for people. That's okay. But yeah, I'm gonna stop there. I didn't really watch anything else worth noting. So I guess what we should do is get into the trailer so we can get talking about Mike's pick, Mike's Christmas holiday pick, 1978's Magic. We'll get into the trailer, and then we'll be back for the bio and first experiences.
Abracadabra, I sit on his knee. Presto, changeo, and now he is me. Hocus pocus, we take her to bed. Magic is fun. We're dead.
Josephine Levine presents Magic, a terrifying love story starring Anthony Hopkins, Anne Margaret, and Burgess Meredith. Rated R.
Magic was directed by Richard Attenborough and written by William Goldman, and the story is as follows. After adopting a new ventriloquist act, failed magician Corky finds himself next in line for a television program, but his fears of failing the required mental health exam sends him running back to his hometown, where he has ample time for his high school crush Peggy, and even more time for his deteriorating mental health embodied by his dummy, Fats.
First experiences. Is this your first time watching it, or have you always had a deep-seated want to become a professional ventriloquist, therefore have watched every movie involving ventriloquist dolls? Colton, we'll start with you.
I think anybody who likes ventriloquist dolls should be on like a watch list. Like there's something wrong with these people. I think the people that enjoy it, the people that take part of it, it's just it's a weird act. I don't really know where it came from. In modern day, it's just like a way to kind of say racist things, but kind of deflect it onto the dummy that you're also talking through. So yeah, that's a side note, but I think ventriloquism is just weird and kind of creepy. But that being said, this is my first time seeing this. I've known about it, but my perception of this movie was completely different than what it was. I thought it was essentially like a proto Child's Play or something. I thought this was going to be like a ventriloquism dummy just murdering people. And that's very much not what this movie is. So, yeah, it's my first time watching it. It's your pick, Mike. Was it your first time?
Okay, so I have a confession to make that will...
No.
Or a realization. I had a realization, much like anyone who heard our last episode with Chris in it, when I found out halfway through the episode that I was watching a shitty version of the movie that was not subtitling the vampire language, and I thought it was so spooky and scary, and turns out they were just saying cringy shit that was ruining the movie. So, much like that, I got about 20 minutes into this movie and realized that it was not the movie that I meant to pick. I will explain. So, okay, I'll come out of the gate and say, no, I've not seen this before. I did know about it because it has phenomenal pedigree. Like, the actors, writers, director, like, everybody in this is, like, kind of world class. But for my whole life, I have confused this movie with another movie about a dummy called Pin. And it's about a CPR dummy or something. And
okay,
it's
I haven't
like
heard of
really,
that one.
I feel like I saw it on Showcase when I was like 12 at like 2:00 in the morning. And I was like, oh, this is weird and fucked up. And then I thought about it when Ro put me on the spot and was like, let's do that. So I said Magic, but I meant Pin.
I've never seen Pin, but I've seen it on a lot of lists of like great, like unseen horror.
Yeah, like weird, obscure.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you can get it. Like I don't think it's ever been released on like DVD or anything. So that's what I kind of like. I'm not saying I wanted to piss you guys off, but I kind of was like, oh, haha, I'll pick the like movie about the doll that's like really weird and stupid and everyone's gonna hate me for it. When I actually picked this one with all the like Oscar pedigree and shit in it.
Yeah.
And I got like 20 minutes into it and was like, oh my god, I picked the wrong fucking movie.
I love that because when I was watching it, I was like, you know what? This still feels like a Mike pick. Like, you know, I would have just guessed it was a Mike pick anyways, because it's like, it's barely a horror movie, you know? And as I was watching, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a little bit creepy and weird, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed like a Mike pick, so I love that it was an accidental, like, on-brand Mike pick.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just picked something that was, like, completely not even horror or horror adjacent. Like, we could have all just sat here and watched this like historical drama or something.
Yeah, it's just so funny because then when I finished it, I was like, I thought that same thing. I was like, this has me written all over it. Right? Like, it's so funny. It's not the movie that I meant to pick, but I was like, this totally is on brand for me. So yeah, this was my first time seeing it. And again, I had known about it forever, and it's one of those that I always kind of meant to watch, but I was like, no, I'm going to pick Pin just to be a troll. Little did I know I trolled myself. That's all I have to say. Bro, what about you? Tell me you actually, you know, you watched the right movie or whatever. Like, tell me that I'm not the only dumbass on this podcast.
So I did watch the right movie. So I watched this, if you're listening to this episode and you didn't watch the movie or you couldn't find it, it's on Tubi. And this actually has been on my Tubi list for a while to watch. I've been very aware of this probably for a year or two, just because this is another movie that's kind of on a lot of lists of like pedigree horror and just kind of horror that I always call it horror that elevates itself, that they call themselves thrillers, not horror, because they don't want to be viewed as that. So I was very aware of it. I was also aware of it because, and I'll recommend this to anyone, there's a Shudder exclusive documentary. It's only 27 minutes long. It's directed and co-narrated by Rodney Asher, who is famous for doing the documentaries The Nightmare and Room 237.
Okay.
And the documentary is called Primal Screen, and it's actually all about this movie and the movie trailer for this and him seeing it as a kid on television and just how the trailer for this movie kind of like opened his world into horror. And this documentary makes this movie trailer look so fucking scary and terrifying. And I watched this. That was probably the first time I ever heard of the movie. I was like, what the fuck is this like ventriloquist doll? And it just convinced me I needed to watch this movie. So, you know, Mike's accidental pick turned into me getting to check off something that's been on my list to watch for like a year or two. So thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But yeah, well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything. You know where we're going to start, our favorite scene / favorite kill. Colton, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, this is one of those movies, as we've kind of been hinting at. There's not a whole lot of kills in it. A lot of the horror is mental, you know, in his mind, more psychological. And so I kind of have no kill to choose, but I would say my favorite scene is the 5 minutes that he has to exist without fats. Which it's just a very good, I'm getting a big nod from Mike, it's just a very good scene of just Anthony Hopkins showing why he has won Oscars and he's just an excellent actor. It's weirdly tense. You have the ticking of the clock in the background, kind of always keeping you cognizant that time is going by. It's also like time kind of gets like stretched out and like shrunken down in it. Like it winds up being like 30 seconds. And I'm like, I'm sure that was longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah, but they've been talking for like 2 minutes. Like,
yeah, and then it's like 2.5 minutes. I was like, oh, but that felt like 15 seconds. Like, so it's weird. You're almost like in his headspace, like Corky's headspace of basically being like, oh, are we actually going to sit here just for 5 minutes and see if he can do it? Like, so I really enjoyed that scene. It was also one of those scenes where going into this, I thought it was a horror movie. So I was like, okay, is this the moment where, like, let's say the ventriloquist doll just springs to life and murders Gangrene? Is this the moment where it kind of just takes a turn into, like, straight up horror? And so, yeah, I was on the edge of my seat, and the movie very much does not do that. It goes out of its way to constantly always have, like, an explanation for when there's any murders committed by the hand of Fats. It's very obviously that Corky was still controlling him. So, yeah, it's I thought it was a very good scene. It was tense. And, yeah, once again, just Anthony Hopkins, like, killing it. What about you, Rowan? What was your favorite scene? Or a kill, if you're going to name one of the 2 kills in the movie, or maybe 3.
I did love the scene in the woods where he kills Ben Green, whatever. I had wrote it just his name, Ben Green, but I know they called him Gangrene. I did love that just because it just gave me that, like, kind of what I'm looking for in, like, these older films. Like, it was beautifully shot, like, in the woods where, he's lifting Fats up and the lights kind of hitting him, and just the camera work, like, it was just really, really gorgeous. And like we hinted at already, like, you can kind of tell that the crew of this is of, like, another level than just, like, this super low budget horror movie, that you're dealing with, like, some real cinematographers, like real, thoroughbred directors. And yeah, I really did love that. That was probably my favorite kill. My favorite scene was there was a great camera shot where Fats is kind of sitting down, Corky is sitting on the couch, and the camera does this thing where it pans over, where we get the shot of, like, a profile of Fat's face, and then it lines up with Corky, so you're kind of seeing this, like, 2 personalities in one.
Yeah, that was a very good shot. I agree.
Yeah. I was just like, holy fuck! Like, this was another one. I was like, man, I as mad as I want to be when we have to watch a Mike pick. I was just like, the shot.
Everybody hates me.
Really good. Yeah. What about you, Mike?
Well, my favorite scene would definitely, first off, also have been that, like, don't let Fats talk for 5 minutes challenge, because it was, like, so fucking well done. And again, yeah, you see, like, this is Anthony Hopkins. Even if it's Anthony Hopkins, like, 40-something years ago, like, he still, like, this man can act, right? Like, but, honestly, other than that, my other favorite scene was, the puppet watching while they fucked. Because we all love a good voyeurism motif inserted into a horror or thriller movie. Also, because I, like, one of my things in this is, like, I don't know if it was deliberate or not. Like, I don't know if it was sort of like, oh, let's sort of, like, subtly homage this movie, or if they just were in the shadow of it, as, like, Rome was saying, trying to kind of, like, take what could have been a really pulpy, low-grade horror setup and making it, like, a psychological thriller. But, like, it kind of, like, gave me the echoes, as a lot of the movie does, of, like, Psycho and, like, Peeping Tom and things like that, because there's always, like, that voyeuristic element. And I'm like, it's a dummy, but it's still, like, it's still there. It's still, this element of... Because at that point, I still wasn't convinced. I was like, maybe the dummy is going to come to life, because just like you, I was like, okay, is this going to be Child's Play? You know what I mean? I was just like, are they hinting that it's just, like, a dummy that he controls, or is it going to, like, literally, I was just always waiting for it to just start talking and get up and running around, and you'd have a, like, Trilogy of Terror moment where he, like, picks up a knife and just starts chasing Anne Margaret around that giant, beautiful house in the woods.
I also felt like when I was watching it, I I kept thinking, I was like, man, I'm getting so many like heavy Psycho vibes off of this. And there was like a shot, they just kind of do like a straight on shot of just Anthony Hopkins, and he's like sweaty, and I was like, there's no way this isn't just recreating that like iconic Norman Bates shot.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of Norman Bates vibes as well. I think it was just kind of his meek and mild demeanor and like his haircut and how you can just tell like he's odd. Like an odd guy the entire movie. So yeah, I kind of got that
very
as well.
kind of like stiff and
And I was gonna say, like, to me what really stuck out was, I mean, obviously Anthony Hopkins. Like I guess because I'm, you know, other than Silence of the Lambs, stuff like that, like I'm not a huge Anthony Hopkins guy. I haven't seen a lot of stuff he's in.
Come on, man, the Transformers movies, you know. Come on, he's just the Michael Bay ones. You gotta watch
You've seen every fucking entry in the MCU. He's in like 7 of them. Girl.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, you know, I feel like Anthony was in it's like you know, a serious movie.
Okay,
I guess my thing was I just didn't know what to expect from it. Like, I didn't know, you know, I was like, you know, was he that good back then? Like, I didn't know anything about his career, so I was like, or is this gonna be like, you know, one of these movies that he's terrible in, he doesn't want anyone to know he's in, and then
like Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, and Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger
essentially one
like,
of those situations.
Never did that movie. I don't know. My IMDb is lying.
I was just gonna say, like, I thought he did awesome. Like every time he was on screen, like I felt tense. Like I could feel the insanity going on, and I was super impressed because I mean I've been pretty on record of like older movies usually don't really do it for me. I'm usually not that. It takes a lot for me to. You need a Barbra Streisand song as your theme song in order for me to be into it. But I was so impressed. Like I'm gonna be honest. I kind of liked his performance in this better than I like him as Hannibal Lecter.
Well, Hannibal Lecter is like camp. Right? It's like literal camp. It's like over the top. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there was probably some good parallels to him pulling from this movie to do Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. Like there's a lot of similarities and just connective tissue to those two characters.
True.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Anthony Hopkins for his performance, you know, as Anthony in The Father, where, you know, of course he plays a man with Alzheimer's, you know, and, you know, he won the Oscar for it a couple years ago. I mean,
is that the one with Olivia Colman?
Yeah. I was going to say, of course you both remember
that
performance, right?
Now, I will say, we're in the 70s, the late 70s with this, so I could have expected it. The pacing kind of killed me. I noted that it was 57 minutes until something actually happens in this movie. Slow burn. This is like the definition of a slow burn, I guess. Even though to me, like, you can, you know, Anthony Hopkins is good enough. You can tell pretty much from the get-go there's something off with him, but like nothing really goes on. I wasn't really sure that I needed an hour of development for this character. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but that was just kind of my opinion.
Is that the point in the movie when he goes back to his hometown?
Yeah.
Like 57 minutes in? Okay. All right, then. Yeah, I agree that's way too long. Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was the point where he goes back or if that's the point where he murders Gangrene. Because if that's the point when he murders Gangrene, I'm fine with that. But if that's just when he leaves to go back, that's really long.
Yeah, I think when I noted 57 minutes, I think that is when Gangrene first showed up. Like, it was where I first kind of realized, I'm like, all right, yeah, like, now we're going to get into some shit.
Okay, because I enjoyed the movie when he got to his hometown, kind of like at the cottages on the lake and stuff. From then on, I was into it. Before that, it was just kind of slow going, just waiting for his mental state to kind of unravel a little bit. But at the lake, I was a little bit more on edge. And of course, you're always loving the will they, won't they, romantic elements in all these movies,
well,
especially if there's only two people. Yeah, exactly. It elevates it a little bit more. I like the scene with the card where he was very confrontational, kind of almost like Peggy just literally didn't know what to do, like how to basically put the image of the card in his head. Like that was fun. So there was some good tense scenes in there still leading up to that moment. But yes, I agree with you. Movies from this era and even in the 80s, they're just, I don't know, they're paced very differently. I mean, obviously our attention spans nowadays are fucked because of TikTok and YouTube videos and everything else. But yeah, it did feel a little slow for me as well, I'll admit.
I'll do this now. I don't know if either of you guys like looked into the movie any. I thought this was kind of fun to maybe discuss possibilities. So a director that wanted to direct this, Steven Spielberg.
Oh.
I can see that. I can.
Steven Spielberg, and if he had directed it, apparently the plan was it wasn't Anthony Hopkins attached to it. It was Robert De Niro.
Oh.
Yeah, once again, I can see that. It'd be slightly different because obviously Robert De Niro reads as a more like traditional actor.
Yeah.
Whereas like Anthony Hopkins is just very like weird and off-putting. Like Robert De Niro doesn't embody that Norman Bates persona, obviously, where Anthony Hopkins at this point in his career can embody that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been interesting. I wonder how like a magical kid or, this feeling of wonder would have factored into it. It definitely would have been like Peggy has a kid or something if it was Spielberg, directing it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I could see that working. And I mean, Richard Attenborough goes on to, work with Spielberg in Jurassic Park. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anything that tied to Jurassic Park, right, Colton?
Dude, we're not going to talk about Richard Attenborough and not bring up like, spared no expense. Come on, man. Got to. He's excellent in that.
So, but some other actors tied to it that I was reading, Dustin Hoffman.
I could see that because he would do Marathon Man.
Yeah.
Which was another Goldman movie.
Yeah.
Like 2 years later.
Second pick, apparently Anthony Hopkins was pretty low on the picks. It just, they couldn't get anyone. The runner-up, though, Jack Nicholson.
Oh, yeah.
Refused to do it because he refused to wear a hairpiece and said he wouldn't wear a wig. So, wouldn't do it.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, Jack Nicholson, it's kind of like that Shining issue that people have with Kubrick's The Shining.
Yeah.
Like, he reads as instantly crazy as soon as he's on screen. He just has
There's
that
no
face
build-up.
and that...
There's no build-up.
Yeah. It's like, this guy's already insane when the movie starts. So the script would have to take that into account a little bit. Or they just do a Shining where they try and make Jack Nicholson somewhat normal and he just fails to do so,
That's kind of funny because Jack Nicholson pulled a Corky because that's like the same thing that Corky did in the movie, because yeah, wow, art imitating life, imitating art, imitating.
Beautiful.
So this is the one I was kind of very interested in. The number one pick for this movie in the studio is the one that shot it down because they said they thought it would be too weird. Gene Wilder as Corky.
Oh.
Apparently that was the first pick. And Gene was interested in it, but they thought that he would just give a way too bizarre performance.
I can literally picture it, yeah.
And interesting.
I think I'd kind of signed with the studio on that one as well. I think it would be a much more over-the-top performance. Like, it changes the movie a little bit. Like, it depends on what they're trying to do. Like, this was a lot more... like, dare I say, understated. Like, obviously, it's still big at points, but it was a lot subtler. And from what I've seen Gene Wilder, and he has like this presence, right? That's just like larger than life persona, right? It's just very different for what Corky is in this movie, right?
Yeah, it jumps off the screen. You're like, I'm watching a movie. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, once I read all the names, I was kind of like, I'm pretty happy where this went casting-wise.
Yeah.
I think
me too.
It went where it needed to be. Because I feel like the only other thing you could have done was like gone with a complete like unknown or something. It would have to be someone that just didn't have, that grandiose presence or other big movies behind them to pull it off.
It's wild that Anthony Hopkins wasn't the first pick because I assume in the audition they probably would have had you try and read for both characters or like try and throw your voice like ventriloquists do. And then you might know a little bit better than I do, but was he actually operating the dummy like the entire movie?
I didn't see much about it. From what I read, it did say that he claimed that he like practiced for months, studied ventriloquists and talked to them and So I would assume that he did learn to do it himself. You know, I just feel like
because
he's got that kind of stuff that
method.
he'd want to do that.
Yeah, because there's that moment where Corky's kind of introducing Fats to Peggy and showing like how complicated of a dummy he is, like where you're moving the eyes and moving the eyebrows and the mouth and the head and all that. And I was just kind of like, the actor would have to learn how to like do all that, right? And it's just also while giving a performance, also while throwing your voice, also ignoring the 40 to 50 people around the camera making this happen. Like, I don't know. I think it's actually pretty impressive. Obviously, when I was watching it, I knew he was actually like throwing his voice because you can see the like slight mouth open and like the throat moving.
Yeah.
You know, like the voice box area. That is always like the giveaway with a ventriloquist. But I just thought it was very impressive. I was curious to see like if he actually moved the dummy the entire time as well, because it's like two parts of your brain, or maybe even more, which maybe that's part of the movie. But like it's a lot of dedication, a lot of craft. Yeah.
Rub your tummy and pat your head at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even do that. So yeah, kudos to Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, well, and like you said, it was super impressive because I especially was looking out. I was like, I wonder if there's any scenes where like you can tell he had to like dub it over or something just because, you know, maybe he couldn't get it going. And I was like, for most of it, I'm like, you can tell he's actually really trying to throw his voice.
Yeah, there's definitely scenes in the latter half where I think he winds up saying at one point, it's like, oh, well, his mouth doesn't always move, or I don't always have to move it, which is almost like the movie's way of kind of having Fats talk even when he's not operating the dummy, you know? And then it winds up kind of going to this place where it's like, once again, we don't know if Fats is like its own being or his own creature. Like it opens the door to make it have a paranormal explanation. So yeah, there were scenes where obviously he was not doing the ventriloquism. It was like let's say he's pacing back and forth and the Fats is in the foreground, right? They can just dub that over later, you know, but for a lot of it, when they were both on camera, like I was watching for it, and he was definitely throwing his voice, like definitely doing that.
So I did want to talk about, did you guys feel like throughout the watching this, were you like, oh yeah, this ventriloquist dummy is definitely possessed? Like, at any point, did it reach that for you? Because I thought it was kind of funny because, like, when I was watching it, I was like, all right, like, it's pretty obvious, like, this guy's, you know, not stable. And, but then, like you said, Colton, like, there was a lot of times that they kind of wanted you to have that feeling of, like, oh, maybe. And I didn't even notice it till after I read it, but apparently they said there is a scene in it where Fatso blinks his eyes and Anthony Hopkins isn't near it. They were like, that scene is left there, so like maybe like Fatso's moving.
Okay, I never noticed that scene.
Now, I was going to say that kind of ruined the fun on it. I saw that Attenborough said that it was actually by accident, and then when I can't remember the editor on the movie, but whoever the editor was said that when they were cutting it, Attenborough was just like, no one's gonna notice that. Just leave it in. Like, it's not a big deal. No one will think anything of it. But then, of course, it came out, and everyone's like, oh, well, this doll, it was blinking without anyone controlling it.
I also wonder, he may have been able to get away with that, right? Because at this time was like VHS, like a big thing. Because remember, there was a time when movies were being made where people only expected people to ever see them once or twice, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how popular home media was at this point in time, but I mean, he might have been making it being like, well, there is a little mistake in there, but whatever, no one will notice that, or only like really keen viewers would notice it. And then basically, even when they're thinking in their head, they'd be like, oh, well, maybe he was there, you know? My thing with the movie was, once again, as Mike and I already said, like, I was expecting the doll to come to life, but it's only because I was told this is a horror movie, and I also know that they're going to be adapting it again, like it's going to be reimagined, and I just really don't see how modern sensibilities kind of is applied to this movie unless they're gonna do like a corny, you know, Chucky, like, you know, Fats going around murdering people, because I was like, there's a lot of restraint in this movie that very few filmmakers have this day and age, and also very few studios have this restraint as well, right, where it's just purely a psychological thriller. I know we've been saying horror, but to me, this was actually a psychological thriller the entire time.
Oh, yeah. I feel like they kind of hint that it's going to be a horror to give that punch, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
of like,
to be on
it's
edge
actually
a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say even in the advertising, because I know if you're aware of this movie, I guess you're probably aware. Like the trailer for this is super infamous because it was super creepy, and it's kind of like Fats monologuing, and then I think towards the very end of the trailer, Fats just says he ends the commercial by saying "we're dead," and then it just then he just like rolls his eyes, and then it just says magic, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And like definitely the marketing to this was like, oh yeah, this doll's like alive or possessed. Which I will admit, I believed for a second when he stabbed what's her name there?
Yeah, the husband?
Or Peggy, was it Peggy? When he's behind the curtain, or was that the husband?
No, that's Peggy's husband.
Oh yeah, the
Peggy,
husband.
Peggy survives the whole movie.
Oh yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Which is a really good ending.
I was gonna riot.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's a really good ending where it's just like the really tragic character where essentially he commits suicide right at the end of the movie, and then his love has a change of heart and is like, actually, yeah, let's run off together. Like it's a very
if she had the change of heart
ending.
like 15 minutes earlier.
Yeah,
it would have completely altered it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then you have
like
to think like, would they have gone on, and would he have like been able to like suppress this? Would they have found the bodies and found out like what? I thought that was really cool because I was thinking about it for quite a while afterwards.
Went on,
I'm like,
this could have been a franchise. We could have had Magic too.
Right?
Could have had.
He goes on a rampage
locked in the attic.
Where was it? He was going to bring her like to Paris or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, and it's like,
Louvre.
Yeah, I'm gonna take her to see the Louvre, and he like murders somebody in like the bathroom of the Louvre. Like,
yeah, Magic in Paris. I mean, I'll get working on this.
Yeah, seriously, like you're wasting your screenwriting talent here. We have we're cooking it.
Magic 2, Fat's back.
All right, we'll workshop the title a little bit, but
yeah. Maybe we can just call it like Grand or something. I don't know.
You have to wait till at least 3 or 4 before you send them to space. So
of course, yes.
That'll be the one that I will want to be part of.
In space, no one can hear you throw your voice. Maybe.
Okay. I like it.
Now, I was gonna say about France, I did kind of like the whole thing because he talks about the Louvre like tons, and that really interested me because I found like I kept wondering, because they kind of made it seem like he was somewhat of a big deal. They talked about he was on Carson a couple times. Yeah. I was very curious how big you could make it as a ventriloquist. I don't know about that world. I didn't know these guys were like, on the Drakes of 1978, like big time. But I thought it was interesting because at first when he kind of always brought that stuff up, like, oh, we go to France, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's like worldly. Like he must have been big enough. He's been traveling the world and all this. And then I loved like, as it goes on, as he gets kind of more and more delusional, you can kind of tell that it's like, Fats tells him, right? Fats like, you've never been there, Louvre. Yeah. Like, how do you know? And I love like just the little aspects and attention to this like downward spiral of madness that the movie gave.
I would say like once again, like kind of like what I said in the beginning, like ventriloquism like is still fairly popular. Like isn't it Jeff Dunham, like his whole thing is once again bringing on like racial stereotypes and basically being like, look, this is Jose the Jalapeno, and I'm going to speak with a Mexican accent. Yeah. Or right after 9/11, I think he had like Ahmed the undead terrorist, and that's what he would like kill, audiences with. He'd bring in and basically he'd speak in like a broken Middle Eastern, accent, and the whole thing was like, I'm going to blow you up or I'm going to kill you and stuff like that. It was just like, once again, this guy is very popular in selling out stadiums, and it's like a way of basically, look, I'm not racist. It's the dummy. It's the dummy saying it all, which once again, that vibe is kind of in this movie because this is like a meek and mild character that he gets the dummy to say a lot of the lines about like, hitting on the women in the movie and whatnot, right?
Exactly.
It's not me, it's Fats, but obviously it's an extension of himself saying things that he probably would like to say, but doesn't have the courage or the charisma or, just can't say it. Like he doesn't have the confidence to do so, right?
It's like liquid courage, but it's like wooden courage.
Yeah,
You know?
well, yeah, and it's like when he doesn't have Fats around, like for a lot of the movie, he is kind of crumbling or a little bit more awkward and off kilter, right? So
and again,
I don't know.
and it goes back to one of my favorite scenes when he fucks Anne Margaret. The goddamn puppet is
if
there.
we're gonna go back to this favorite scene, that is the one part of Anthony Hopkins' acting that it's not very convincing. He's slobbering all over her face.
No,
I'm not convinced Anthony Hopkins has ever kissed when I watched this scene.
No.
This is I understand something's happened in the heat of the moment, but he's like sucking on her eyebrow and her nose and her cheek and her chin and all over the place. It's he gives her a good slobbering, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you can tell she's just like, I've been waiting 20 years for this or whatever. I don't know how old they're supposed to be. And it's like, clearly she's put the blinders on. She's got the rose-colored glasses on. Meanwhile, they're like, your husband, does he still look like James Dean? Meanwhile, like, I gotta have a fucking puppet in the room just to get it up. Like,
well, I mean, it would have been interesting if, Fats came and he kind of got involved a little bit,
I like literally that whole scene. I was just like on the edge of my seat, like, okay, what is Fats gonna do? I waited the whole movie for him to come to life, up until
Fats coming in with the assist,
stabbing. Yeah,
great.
I mean, listen, we don't know what's going on with Fats under that suit.
I thought you were gonna say we don't know what Fats is packing, which I'm gonna say we don't know. That's not in the movie. We have no clue.
His name is Fats, after all. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my god. Mike's gonna have to write like erotic fan fiction of magic.
Fats fan fiction. Oh my god. Fuck. My next revenue stream.
I am curious how her husband used to look like James Dean, because I saw him and I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I was like, I don't see it, guys. I don't see the James Dean look in him. I was like, he's a little burly. He's like a lumberjack or something.
He was James Dean for that middle town in middle America that nobody's heard
exactly.
of.
Exactly.
He was the one semi-attractive guy in high school in town that everyone thought looked like James Dean.
Also, shout out to literally one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, because Ed Lauter, who played her husband, played the stern military dad to a young teenage Sarah Jessica Parker in that movie. And he was really good in that, and he was really good in Magic. I just want, like, that man, respect. Ed, you're number one in my book. I'm your number one fan.
I was gonna say, and to deal with like the high school, the love section of this, that was kind of a little bit of a letdown for me in terms of, I don't know if they really set it up as good, or at least for me, because these guys are like madly in love with each other when they like reconnect. And I got the bits and parts from what they were saying about like, like they knew each other from high school and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just kind of felt like I was like, these guys haven't like really seen each other since high school. It's been so long. Like, I guess she's like she's unhappy in her marriage, but I found it hard to believe that she would still be like head over heels for this guy that she hasn't known since he was like 16. It was just like, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm buying this.
Well, I don't know about head over heels. We saw the sex scene. Her heels were firmly below her head. They were very boringly laying next to each other. But I don't know. I kind of bought it. Maybe, especially this point in time, you have to send, letters back and forth to people.
Yeah.
You can't just send sex in the middle of the night, you up, It's maybe the distance makes the heart grow fonder, This was a different time, Rowan.
Colton, you're so young.
Yeah, we don't really know that. We don't.
You're so young. I love it. You had to send letters back in these days. Also, correction for earlier in the episode. I'm pretty sure like people didn't have VHSs till like mid 80s, late 80s, like in their homes.
So that's what I was saying, though.
Yeah, he said,
not
I
a
don't
correction
know.
at all. I literally said that.
Oh, I thought you said it was on VHS. I was like, fuck, man.
No,
I said,
was asking.
At this time when filmmaking happened, they wouldn't take into account errors in it because they're like, people are only going to see it once or twice. There's no way to watch it outside of the cinema.
There
or
was
the theater
probably like beta or whatever. Like, I'm sure the technology was there, but nobody had it. It wasn't like every third family had it and was like, that's what you did on the weekend was you bought a pizza and rented a movie. It was like, Howard Hawks has it or whatever,
Yeah, like Blockbuster wasn't around at this time.
No, exactly.
That's got to be sweet as a filmmaker to just live in a time where you're like, fuck it. No, everyone's going to see it once. They're not going to see it again. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
It will never.
They'll never see it in a higher quality than this film reel right now. They'll never see the wires holding these people up or tugging them along,
And you'll never have people tagging you in their negative reviews on Twitter.
What do they think this is? An Arthur C. Clarke book or something?
Oh
Jeez.
my God.
Do you guys have any other points you wanted to bring up for the film?
I don't know why I have It's No Free Willy written down. I wrote that down when Colton was talking about Free Willy earlier, and I was like, I mean,
Free Willy actually... were you reviewing Avatar or Magic? There's
Free Willy is
Free
actually
Willy,
like a sick movie. So I just have it's really big shoes to fill. It's really
all
big.
Right, we'll have to wait.
Killer whale size shoes to fill.
We're gonna have to wait to see if Rowan rates it higher than Jaws or higher than Free Willy, because obviously Free Willy's on a different level.
I don't know if I've ever seen Free Willy.
Girl.
All right, that's my next pick.
Yeah,
Free Willy. Horror movie of Free Willy. I will say, I will say, I'm kind of interested. I would like to read the book. Apparently, this was a book first.
Yes, most of his screenplays were based on his own novels.
Yeah,
like The Princess Bride was his novel, and then he wrote the screenplay.
Marathon, and I did see like this pretty much like as soon as this got put out, like he sold it for $1 million. Like they bought it immediately. But I did see that they said that there is a little bit different in the book. I know they said Merlin, like his teacher,
his mentor,
is a lot more prominent in the book. There's more to do with him, which I felt I probably could have used more of that in the beginning. He was just kind of a wasted character where we're introduced to him sick on a couch, and that's kind of like the last we see of him, really. Yeah, I thought maybe like a little more of the beginnings, maybe like see more of like maybe his descent to madness early on, or more of it kind of taking hold with Fats and him going out a little more, other than just like kind of the one scene. He had that one bomb, and then that was pretty much the only time we ever saw him bomb. But yeah, I did see in the book that Merlin had more to do with it, and they said that in the book, Fats runs as his inner monologue at the beginning, like the first half of the book. So before he even picks up the ventriloquist doll, he already has Fats talking to him in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that doesn't overly matter that they cut it out. It didn't really affect anything, I guess, other than it would have been a tell automatically, that the doll's not alive or anything, because you'd be like, oh yeah, this guy's already talking to himself as this Fats character.
I think it's a bold choice of you to say, like, you know what, this movie needed to be longer.
Yeah,
I needed
because,
more.
Like, earlier today I was gonna say, if they shaved 15 minutes off of it, I would have been happy with it.
Yeah, it's just like all these movies back in the day, you can shave 10 to 15 minutes off most of them and not lose too much. And this is one of those that I think could have been improved with that. But apparently not. Rowan wants an extra 20 minutes. He wants Merlin's whole backstory.
Rowan wants the Merlin cut. Release the Merlin cut, he said.
I need the prequel, the Merlin.
Gather all your DC bros and campaign MGM or whoever. I think this is MGM. And, release the Merlin cut.
Just tweet at Richard Attenborough. Oh,
yes.
Oops.
Wait. Hang on now. Is William Goldman still alive? Let's get someone on this. And Margaret's still alive, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
I
Anthony
got
Hopkins
some bad
is
news. Richard Attenborough and William Goldman have passed, so...
okay.
Yeah. I guess our only hope is they get $300 million together, get a hold of Snyder. We need the cut, the Merlin cut.
Digitally de-age Anthony Hopkins, you know, make him a kid, learning under Merlin.
Honestly,
freakish creation.
If they can make Skeet Ulrich look 17 again in Scream 5, then anything's possible.
Are we ready to land the plane on this one and get to rating it?
Sure.
So if you're new to the podcast, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Mike, this was your pick, so we'll let you go first. What would
Ooh.
you rate 1978's Magic?
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege. Okay, so while I was watching it again, and this was because of my own stupidity, I was like a bit flummoxed for a while because I thought I was watching a different movie. And that's my bad. But then when you compound that with the like we were talking about the weird pacing and like it's always like it lags at the beginning, I was like, I feel like I'm only gonna give this movie an okay. And then it started picking up speed, and I was still really, like, honestly not convinced. But by the time I finished it, and as I think about it more since I watched it, I'm gonna give it, like, a hesitant yay. Because it was quite good. The talent is there. There are some pacing issues. But I do think that it was actually quite solid. The performances are all excellent. Everybody in it has chemistry. Even the like characters that aren't in it for very like honestly, the scene in the boat, which we didn't talk about, like between Ed Lauter and Anthony Hopkins, like that is such a fucking tense scene. Like that is brilliant. And like you can see him sweating, right? And it's just like fuck, I was like literally on the edge of my seat. I wanted to jump off. I wished I was in a boat so I could jump off of it and swim to shore.
That was a great scene.
It was so good. And I kept thinking about it, and the further I get away from it, the more I think about it, and like I appreciate the craft, and I feel like I would have appreciated it more from the beginning had I realized that I was not watching 1988's Pin. So I'm giving it a hesitant SLEIGH, which I think will grow. I might watch it again. Or not a SLEIGH. No, sorry, not a SLEIGH, a yay. SLEIGH.
Okay.
Cut the cameras, dead ass. Go back and edit that out. By the way, my cold pill has fully hit me, and I'm not even like I don't even know where I am right now. So rewind. Yes, so I'm giving it a hesitant yay. I would totally like show this to somebody and maybe watch it again. Like if it comes out on a like collector's edition Blu-ray, I will definitely buy it and like sit down and like love to watch a like really nice, beautiful looking transfer, and maybe like, you know, I'd love to hear a commentary on it or just watch like some featurettes or something. Yeah, I'd totally give it a yay. And I feel like it's going to grow on me. It's one of those, it's definitely a grower. We do love a good grower. What about you, Ro?
Jeez. Yeah, I've been thinking all day about what I was going to rate it, and I'm not even sure I still know. I'm going to give it I will also give it a mild yay, I think. Like I said, I did think it was pretty slow to start with. I wasn't sure whether or not to hate you, Mike, or not. But once it gets going, like it's tense, like you said, like all the scenes once we're in his hometown, like you're kind of on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to go on, what kind of twists and turns it's going to take. I assumed at some point this ventriloquist doll Fats was gonna come alive without Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
Which I kept trying to think, I'm like, how are they gonna pull this off? Because it's kind of this psycho vibe. So like I know he's definitely disturbed, but like I'm pretty sure Fats is supposed to be alive, and how are they pulling this off? And yeah, I just think like once it really gets going, it's really unnerving. The performances are great. The cinematography is beautiful on this.
Yeah.
You know, like we kind of all said, you know, the entire time talking about it, it's just, it looks good. You can tell the pedigree is there of people working on this film. So yeah, I'm also going to give it a kind of mild yay. How about you, Colton?
Yeah, I guess I liked it a little bit more than both of you. I'm going to give it a solid yay. It's a yay in my books. The entire time I was watching it, I was like, there's a lot of technical craft here on display. Like, Anthony Hopkins is really good. We've already mentioned the cinematography is pretty good. There's some interesting camera choices and angles and whatnot. It's like, wow, this is a real movie. You know, as we've already said, you know, there's skill on display here. I'll echo the same qualms as you guys that the first act goes on a little bit too long, but it did grab me once we got back to his hometown. Like, it didn't take me like an hour to get grabbed. I was grabbed about 30 minutes in, I'd say. Yeah, and as we said, pacing issues, a little bit too long. But all in all, I think Anthony Hopkins was very easy to watch. I think not knowing if it was going to be a straight-up horror movie kept me on edge. I don't know if it'd keep me on edge for a rewatch, but as a first-time viewer, I thought this was a very strong. It was just a good yay. It was I enjoyed it. I think it was a good movie.
Solid 2 stars.
No. That's a 3.5 in my books.
Yeah.
I'm not a Mike. This is my favorite ventriloquism movie of all time. 2 stars.
I deserve that, honestly.
Do we have a voicemail? Do we have
well, wait, we're not there.
We're
not. You're trying. We're
to
not
rush
there.
The
we're not there yet.
Right.
You're trying to rush the
Look,
episode.
I'm trying to leave. I'm trying to get out of here, man.
Jeez.
He's got his coat on. He's out the door.
So we told you what we thought about it, and we asked what you thought about it. So we had someone write in on Slasher that felt strongly about Magic. This is from Lars, and they said, I freaking love this flick. Way before Chucky came along, there was Fats. The creep factor was on point. The story was on point. The actors, especially Hopkins, was well on point. But yeah, Magic is a fucking gem of a film that deserves the utmost love and respect. It still holds up today as it did back in '78, especially with the rise of the killer doll subgenre over the last 30 years. Magic is the king of them all in my books.
Nice.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Ron.
I was just going to say, that sounds like a SLEIGH to me.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a SLEIGH. I like kind of zeroing in on this movie as kind of the rise of the killer doll subgenre, because that's what I was hinting at earlier in the review is just I don't know how they adapt this nowadays and don't make it just like Annabelle or Chucky.
Yeah.
So I hope when they do adapt this, they do it justice. Maybe you can play around with and you don't know if it's a killer doll. It's firmly in the camp of it's shot in a way that you don't know if it's Fats doing it or Corky by way of Fats,
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way you modernize it a little bit more and kind of lean into that. But yeah, no, I like kind of putting this movie up on a pedestal like that.
Yeah, I support this.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with his influential stuff. I forgot to say it when we were talking about the movie, but I did read that R.L. Stine said Fatso was what Slappy from Goosebumps is based off of.
Yeah, no, and it wears it on its sleeve. Like Slappy looks, in my head, I haven't gone and looked at him, but in my head, it looks exactly like Fats. So I don't know if that's the case, but.
Yeah, he said voice, language, everything. He said that it was based off this movie. And from what I remember from the old show and even kind of the Jack Black rendition of Slappy in the movies is definitely Fatso influence. Okay. But yeah, I think it's time to go to that horrific hotline. We have a voicemail, guys, obviously.
Is it Nicholas? Is he chiming in again?
He is.
Nice.
Someday I'll be like, no, it's nobody.
Just wallow in disappointment.
Yeah. Be like, Nicholas decided to leave us, but for now he's back. So yeah, we'll get into that and Nicholas's thoughts on Magic.
Hey, so I just watched Magic, the creepy doll movie with Anthony Hopkins, which was a first-time watch for me, and until 2 weeks ago, I didn't even know this movie existed. So it was pretty new to me, and I have to admit it wasn't quite what I expected. When I hear creepy doll, I immediately think of something like maybe Chucky or Annabelle, or maybe even The Boy, I think, with the porcelain doll.
Not The Boy.
And what I really enjoyed is that the movie hasn't got a supernatural doll, so it's all the person, and the doll is not possessed by some ghost or demon. But overall, the movie is still not what I expected. It's not the fastly paced horror thriller, but more a slow burn. And I have to admit, the first half really dragged on too long for me. Once the turning point came where he's asked to stay 5 minutes without the doll or without doll impressions, and he then subsequently murders the older man. And from there on, I thought the movie was pretty tense, especially the boat fishing scene, when he thinks the corpse is coming up, and then they later find it. So that was a good second half up until the very end, which I thought was then a bit too quick. So I'm not expecting a grandiose final act. That's not what the movie wanted to do, but just a bit more would have done wonders for my personal enjoyment of the movie. Overall, I can already say the movie is only an okay for me. I think mostly because of those wrong expectations. I'm not sure if I knew what I was getting into, if I would have seen the movie differently. That all being said, I like the actors. So Anthony Hopkins, I think, is a brilliant actor if he's into the role. So I'm not counting like Thor or the Transformers, what is it, 4 or 5 where he's in, but the actual roles
shade.
Which he kind of enjoys. You already get some of the impression that he is on a way to his role as Hannibal Lecter 10, 15 years later, which would get him his Academy Award and is probably his best role. And he already shows that he can deliver this scary psychopath or killer vibe in this movie, even though he's not this clinical cold killer, but more this frantic, delirious person. Yeah, so I guess that's my thoughts to Magic. Not quite my taste, even though I enjoy a slow burn usually. I just guess it's just a personal opinion. Anyways, still cool to kind of get some of those lesser known movies, or maybe it's well known, those movies that I didn't know before, to watch them. And hope to enjoy your opinions on the podcast.
Thank you, Nicholas, for chiming in again. Yeah, he's pretty much echoing a lot of what we said. That is just, the first act is very slow, and like us, he kind of had a different opinion of the movie going in. I guess it just won us back a little bit more in the end.
Yeah.
I like how he kind of had his own little, he might say it's not, but I like to pretend that it's shade thrown at Mike, just saying that, thanks for these lesser known, aka no one knows movies that you continue to make Nicholas watch.
I'm just keeping everybody on their toes.
I was gonna say, this is like a blockbuster Mike pick. Like, this probably made like $200,000. That's crazy for a Mike pick.
I don't think I've ever picked a movie that didn't lose money. When Ro used to do the budget game all the time, it was always like, how much did this make? And I was always like, $3 million, $400,000. Like,
there's definitely some movies you chose that it's like, what did this make in the theaters? $10, Bob. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes even
it had
0.
one showing in the director's backyard that he charged people to come see, and the neighbor boy showed up, and that was it.
But yeah, if you want to be like Nicholas and leave us a voicemail, you can do so by calling the Horrific Hotline if you'd like at 1-902-418-8620. Hopefully you'd get through. I don't know. I haven't checked in on that in a while. But if you can't get through, you can always send your voicemails to itsleighspodcast@gmail.com, or just do what Nicholas does. Just send them to us directly in the DMs on Instagram. We'll take them, we'll edit them together, and we'll play them on the air. And if you're not doing so already, you can follow us at itsleighspodcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Slasher. If it's a social media site, we're probably on there at itsleighspodcast, so give us a like or a follow if you're not doing so already. And Rowan, where can people listen to all these great horror jams?
So if you're on Spotify, you can search up the It Slays Podcast's Horrific playlist. Or if you have any trouble finding it, any of our social media, go to the link tree, and there's a link you can click and it'll send you directly there. We put music from movies we review or iconic horror movies we love. scores, soundtracks, all different types of things, just to get you in that spooky mood 365 days a year. So go check it out. And yeah, I think the last thing is just to announce the upcoming episode for the new year, the first episode of the new year. It is Color Out of Space. I didn't write what year it came out. I don't know. The only one there is, isn't there? Yeah.
A couple of years ago it came out, yeah. And we're coming in hot with the Color Out of Space, yeah.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage, possibly, I think, other than The Lighthouse, the only other, like, kind of H.P. Lovecraft thing we've ever done.
Bro, The Lighthouse is not H.P. Lovecraft. It's not an adaptation. And we've done loads of Lovecraftian or cosmic horror on this show.
Well, The Lighthouse is very Lovecraftian with the entity in the lighthouse.
So is, God, what's that space movie that sucked earlier this year where they go to the portal to hell?
Event Horizon.
Yeah, that's very Lovecraftian as well with the...
Oh my god, you know what? I've never thought of Event Horizon as being Lovecraftian, but it kind of is.
Oh yeah, that's very much cosmic horror. Now, this is a straight up Lovecraft adaptation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is obviously Lovecraftian in the text, not just by the vibe.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So yeah, make sure to get your eyes on that, and we'll be back in the new year. So hopefully all you guys have a good holiday, good new year. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you for the support all year round. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it once the anniversary episode hits, but I'm pretty sure this was our biggest year to date. So, yeah, just thank you for everything. Thank you for putting up with Mike and his non-Christmas picks, and hopefully next year we'll come back and, we'll do a real Christmas movie, like, I don't know, John Carpenter's Vampires or something. I'm sure Mike will pick something in a desert in the summer.
Is there a White of the Eye too?
White of the Eye too.
Oh, here we go.
I think every Christmas, Mike should just pick a ventriloquist doll movie, see how many we can get through.
Girl, there's definitely a wealth of them since the 20s, so don't even fucking tempt me, okay?
They're all made by Full Moon Entertainment.
I will punish you.
But yeah, so listen to that, and we'll be back in the new year, just doing what we do, as always. I am your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Mike.
And I'm Colton. Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, everybody. Thanks for listening.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Mom with the new Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
We've got to return some videotape.